Okay. Going live. You're live. Are we live? Is there anybody out there? Can you hear me? Let's see. OBS. Yep, should be fine, I think. All right, mate, I'll check that. Let me know if you can hear what's going on here. You can hear that, and you can hear me talking. Nice one. Happy New Year, Joe. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you've all had a good holiday season and whatnot. Feeling a bit under the weather today. Got kind of, not a real flu, but, you know, a bit of a New Year hangover kind of flu. But we'll get past that and listen to some music. Hopefully it's good. Yeah. Hope everyone went out and made the most of the parties and things, supporting your local scene and whatnot. Okay, let's just jump on here and see if I can find Dickie's track. Okay. Cool. All right. There were a few people who sent tracks in that didn't have download enabled, so you're not included. I did email everyone back and let you know. The instructions are pretty clear, I think. I'll try to make them as clear as possible, but if you can't download it, if I can't download it, then I can't include it. Basically, in order to have the audio playing over the stream, then I need to bring them into live. There's maybe another way to do it, but this is the way I do it. And yeah, so if you don't enable download, you don't get included. Sorry. Also, name your tracks, guys. Name your tracks. Like, put your name. Just every time you export something out from your DAW, put your name and the name of the track in it, because so many of these come through with like Untitled 01. It's like, I mean, I'm doing it in a systematic way, so I retitle it, but Untitled 01 is not helpful for anyone, yourself included. All right, so let's just jump in and get things going. All formats. The rave scene was born. All right. Well, I can't remember what this sounds like, but let's see. Is it going to be ravey? some kind of like old school, I guess it's got some rave influences. I would say those kind of chords are more like Chicago house type thing. Cool, like for the most part, I think like cool vibe. Personally, I would switch out those kind of what I'm going to call like Chicago house kind of chords for something a bit more modern. I think it would push it in a different direction. You've got quite a few things in there that aren't necessarily clashing, but are like there's a lot of kind of old school sounds in there, and they're kind of referencing different genres. Like there's some ravey sounds like the little acid pluck, the kind of breakbeat things that you've got going on. Then I guess this is from like this vocal sample was from a documentary or something about the rave scene. And then this kind of massive 909 kick. I mean, I think once it gets to about here and things come in, it feels fine, but this intro feels a bit weird. It feels like a kind of like because of the distortion and maybe there's some reverb on the kick. It kind of sounds like a hardstyle track when it's coming in. Yeah, but and one thing I think you could do to improve things a lot is get some automation going on with your elements. Like everything just kind of comes in sequentially and then drops out. So you've got these bits that feel quite disjointed. You could make everything feel a lot smoother in the transitions if you just automate things in. Maybe you could drop something in and then use volume automation to bring it in more gently. Everything just kind of like happens in a very linear fashion. I don't know, cool idea. Like the main groove type thing I quite like. The bass and the kick are they blend together quite a lot, which is what I was doing with this EQ, just trying to get an idea, listening to the kick and the bass together. And then here, doesn't really sound like there is a bass. So I'm not sure why you would take out the bass line for, what is that, 16 bars or something? 8 bars. Yeah, so I would, I think the arrangement is a bit unconventional with some things like that in it. So it's cool to like try things and experiment, but at the end of the day, when I'm doing things like this, arrangement, etc., I always try to reference who's the audience, who's going to play it, DJs, and who's going to listen to it, people in a club generally. People might be listening on Spotify or whatever, but when I'm writing music, I'm thinking mainly about writing it for the club. So that's what I recommend, man. But you do you. All right, Dunk Dem Bells 05. cool vibe on that, Dunk. I really like the way that you've got all of these instruments that kind of reference a similar time period. Like, it's got this real kind of 90s deep house kind of sound. Really cool. Really cool. There's a few things in the mix that, like, you've got a few things layered up on your clap, maybe like a finger snap and a snare and a clap or something like that. There's something sitting on the left side that's really, really loud, and then there's a lot of reverb on them. So they just take up a lot of kind of attention. I think they're just a bit too loud. So I'll just look at that. And so like when the beat is just playing by itself, the clap just sounds really kind of overbearing and phasey. It kind of works for the vibe of the track, but I think it's just a bit too much. So I would pull that down a bit. If you group all those elements and then kind of try and control them together, it might work well. This vibraphone kind of main riff thing that you've got is really cool. Like when you so this bit here, when it first happens, it's really cool. I think you could strip away some more of the elements, or maybe have it like in a bit more of a break, so that this happens like by itself a bit more. Take out these chords that are underneath, just take out some of the percussion, give it more space, so it's really the absolute main focus of the track when that's happening. Because I think it's like it could be like a really impactful moment of the track, but at the moment you've got it kind of just happening amongst a bunch of other things, and then it repeats a few times. I would kind of build up to that and have that as the main kind of crescendo, the highlight of your track, and really focus in on that point. Because like from a dynamics perspective, you kind of build up through this short intro and then build down through this short outro. You've got a couple of breaks and things in here, but everything's pretty linear in terms of like the flow of the energy. So I think you could make a bit more impact in the track by having like some sections where it's the chords are taking the main focus. You've got this kind of church organ kind of sound that comes in, which is also really cool. You could have that take the main focus, and then you could make a really like a big moment out of this like vibraphone. Like all the sounds work well together, but they are also like kind of fighting for attention a bit. I think just playing with the dynamics in terms of like the arrangement, in terms of where things come in, where things go out, and allow some of those elements to kind of take the front and center stage in different sections. But good stuff, man. I really like the vibe on it. Washed out. Let's see. Is that foreshadowing? Really nice groove here. So it's a different style, but what this is doing really well is bringing elements in using volume and filter automation, which I think I was saying in the All Formats track could use some of that. So everything's kind of gently easing in. It all feels very organic and natural. Very different style of track, but that's done really well in here. Really nice. I like how you stripped out a bunch of those elements when that dropped in, so it really gives a good impact and it allows you to use those elements to build back up again. Nice texture coming in with the different layers of synths, but they're all got their own space in the frequency spectrum, so there's like room for them, so it's really well done. Really solid drop here. Really sick, man. Like, that's, sorry I had to skip through the end there. It's an almost 8-minute track, so yeah, we're not gonna listen to your 1.5 minutes of kick drum and hi-hat at the end there. But yeah, I mean, it's really, really well done, dude. The only thing that I think I could really suggest is in this breakdown, and this is something that's like, it's just my opinion, but a lot of progressive house stuff does this, where it kind of, I think it's great to go away to a moment of kind of silence, and like create the dynamics in the track, like I was talking about in the last one, which you do here for sure, like having this moment where the energy goes down or the sound goes down. But I think the length of this breakdown, you want to keep it interesting, right? So it's kind of building up here, then you take everything away, which creates a moment that's awesome. But you kind of want to be doing some things, just some ear candy, whatever. It's a tough balancing act between keeping it subtle and keeping it interesting. But I think there's some opportunity to just keep things a little bit more interesting through here. Just, you know, some kind of like impacts, or like a big snare with reverb on it or something like that. Nothing too crazy. And then maybe just some kind of clap fills or something like that. But just some little ear candy to keep the listener interested, and it just kind of keeps building up anticipation and energy before you get into this kind of main crescendo where all the lush melodies are working well together. But, you know, I don't think that you necessarily even maybe need that. Maybe for other people it works fine. That's just something that I always find with progressive house stuff. All right, man. Yeah, great tune. What else can I say? Savio, jack to the texts, the Big Short edit. All right. What's going on with the waveform here? Kind of looks like lopsided. I don't know. Oh, it looks like you've got your hat quite heavily panned. This kick is really boomy. What I would suggest is giving a little EQ. Maybe quite a lot of EQ, or trying a different kick. But yeah. Compared to the bass, the kick is also really quiet. I think you could... Where's this kick playing? So the bass... So I'm guessing the track is in E minor. Yeah, I think I would just try, like, find a different kick. If you like the tone of that kick, then you could layer it with a kick that's more subby, but I think it's just quite a bit too high for the track. There's not the kick's not providing enough sub. If you get a kick, like a lot of kicks, I don't know, most of the kicks I have are playing like a fundamental of somewhere between F and A, and looks like your fundamental is C sharp or something like that. So that's just going to just fill out the low end of the track, because you, like, especially here when the bass line comes in, it's a cool bass line and everything makes everything work well together, but your kick's just not doing what it should. It's too quiet and there's not enough sub in it.
Well, nobody's buying Savio, nobody's buying everybody wants swap now the most popular product on the street. That's good for us. Yes and no. I heard from somebody blow out. No, sorry. I need clear over. More gonna stay up and heavy loads to the bottom part. It might be time to get an oil check. Get up. I mean, seriously, I feel like I'm financially inside of you or something. Okay. Object in the back.
This sound that you've got playing on the drop here, I think it's a cool idea, but the sound is very vanilla. Like, I think you could find something that's a lot more interesting than that. That's also got some, like, a bit more movement in it. Just try some different presets, I would say. I think you could find something cool. I get what you're trying to do here with this vocal, but for me, it makes the track seem more stiff and more kind of robotic than groovy. So maybe you could try taking that vocal, like put it into a simpler or something and put it into slice mode or something, and then play a sequence with it that's not so kind of robotic and on the one. Quite a long time with nothing really happening. You always want to keep your breakdowns kind of interesting and dynamic and as much movement as possible, I think. Okay, so something big happens here.
Well, nobody's buying Savio, nobody's buying everybody wants swap now the most popular product on the street. That's good for us. Yes and no. I heard from somebody blow out. No, sorry. I need clear over. More gonna stay up and heavy loads to the bottom part.
Okay, so I'm not sure if these two vocal samples are from the same source, like maybe it's a movie or something like that, but they sound like they're from totally different places. One's way louder, one's way clearer, one's more distorted, one's got less high end and sounds more muffled, more like a kind of telephone effect. They've got they're in kind of different spaces, like they've got different amounts of reverb and stuff on them. So they just sound really disjointed, even though they might be talking about a similar subject. One's way more muffled and harder to hear what they're talking about. Which just, for me anyway, doesn't sound good. It sounds like disjointed. Also, you've got this melody that comes in, which is a cool melody, it could be mixed a bit more. It could be a bit more powerful. But in essence, it's really cool. But you're bringing in a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. So it takes away the impact of having the melody. I think these vocals that you've got, they're just like sonically, they're not really adding much to the track, in my opinion. And this is something that I've done plenty of times, is where I like the content of the vocal in terms of what it's talking about or something. But if it doesn't sound good, or if there isn't space for it where it's sitting in the frequency spectrum, then it doesn't really matter what it's talking about. It's you got to have both, really. So I think you could do something a bit more dramatic with this melody, and then find a way to maybe use the vocals more sparingly. I don't know. So okay, you're saying here the scene is a conversation between two guys on the phone.
That's good for us.
Okay, so it sounds like in the scene in the movie, the camera is on one guy and you can hear him, and then you can hear the conversation that he's having on the phone. So it makes sense in the context of the movie, but it doesn't make sense in the context of just listening to it as audio. Not sure. Up to you, but that's my opinion on it. Yeah, I think you've got like a cool groove. Sort out the kick like I suggested. Maybe work a little bit on the sound design of like this riff you've got on the drop and this riff you've got here, and then try and figure out something to do with the vocals, because they could be interesting, but they need to have space. So when you use them in the break, you could try and strip some more stuff out so that they're more audible, or I don't know. That's your problem to deal with. And then this, where you've got this kind of vocal chop happening here. I get what you're trying to do, but I don't think it's quite doing it. It just makes because the groove that you've got is really cool, and I think this detracts from the groove rather than adds to it. But keep going with it. You've got something there for sure. Really strong mix down on this one. Not sure about that kind of noisy texture in the background. Maybe it's a bit too loud though. there with that percussion, I would suggest having the more intense percussion happening in that little break, but it gets a bit annoying having it for that long before. But the percussion sounds really cool. It's working in the track really well. I just think you want to keep the groove rolling like it is, and then have those kind of more intense percussion bits to create tension, and then release when it goes back to the groove. There's this bit here where you've got the ride pitching down. I guess you're using like a transpose, it sounds like, because it takes very clear steps in terms of the pitch. If you use, is it the shifter? And then you just automate the fine pitch or something, we'll do the same effect, but just a bit smoother, like. Really nice atmosphere with those drums and stuff. So in this part here, you had like the perfect opportunity to introduce a new melodic part, like something a bit higher that really kind of, because there's space for it to stand out, like a bell or something like that, playing like a cool, interesting melody. And it doesn't, you don't even need to bring it over into the rest of the track. It could just happen there. But there's definitely space for something that creates a bit of a dramatic moment there. Yeah, and then it's going to, so that's going to kind of elevate this section, and then it's going to feel more satisfying when it goes back to the groove. Yeah, really cool track, man. Really like that. Like I said, there's a few things that you could work on to maybe smooth out some of that stuff. But in general, I really like it. I love that organic percussion kind of vibe. Yeah, dope. Jason Hesko, Lonely. That's fast, isn't it?
I've been so lonely.
these like melodic textures that you brought in there, there's a lot of quite awkward resonances going on. Yeah, it like a maybe just a pad or something would be nicer. It's cool to I think adding them in that place would work, but I think the sounds could just be a little more pleasing to the ear.
Without you every day, without you every day, without you every day, you went away. I've been so lonely without you every day. I've been so lonely since you went away. I've been so lonely without you every day.
There are also like these I don't know, the musical elements that you brought in here. It's also making everything seem really muddy. So you could try EQing out some of the low mids up to maybe 200. Not with a hard EQ, you know, something like this. I don't know, just give it a go. Because those congas or whatever that you've got in there are also sitting in the same frequency spectrum. Yeah, I don't know. I would just try, maybe you could even try just stripping that out. There's just a lot going on around this area here.
I've been so lonely.
In the instrumentation, you've got some really nice sounds happening, but they're kind of like happening one after the other. They're not really interacting. It's got this, so it's clearly not tech house, but it's got this very tech house kind of thing where sounds just kind of happen. For this style, I would try to get try to get a bit more interaction between the sounds. Get them happening like more in a more rhythmic sense.
I've been so lonely since you went away. I've been so lonely without you every day. I've been so long, feeling so long. I've been so lonely, I miss you every day. I've been so long, feeling so long. I've been so lonely.
Yeah, so I think the track's got a really cool vibe. I think you can definitely work on the instrumentation a bit to get it sounding a bit cleaner. Just try listening to it through here. Turn off some of those low mid kind of elements that are sitting around between 100 and 300 hertz, and just take them away till the track sounds more open and like more punchy, and then try replacing those elements with something else. Yeah, but the vibe is really cool, so that's the main thing. really nice vibe on this, man. Yeah, really, really cool. Super nice chords, and I like the way that everything's just changing really subtly, so it just keeps everything moving. Right, as much as I'd love to keep listening to that all day, I think there's some people in here that need more attention than you, Rajesh, because your music is fucking awesome. And I think my advice here is the same advice I've been giving you for a while, which is get this to some labels because people need to hear it. It's really fucking good, man. Yeah, it's awesome. Really nice pads and atmosphere in this Luca. that percussion that you've got there, it feels like it's kind of working against the groove, not with it. I think this is really cool. I think you've got a really cool vibe going on here. I feel like the kick could be a bit more punchy. Maybe something just like a bit more in the kind of upper mids on the kick. Just make it really kind of smack through the mix a bit more. And that percussion's really kind of screwing up the groove for me. I don't think it needs much, but you could try, just changing that percussion, and I think it will could really having the right percussion in there could really bring the whole track together. The percussion does sound good here. Okay, I'm a bit torn with this one because I find I really like the vocal samples that you've got. I really like the instrumentation that you've got. I really like the vibe, the atmosphere and stuff that you've got. But the beat isn't working for me. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's just something I can't really put my finger on exactly what it is, but it's looker. This is, I mean, I think if you, it just needs a, for me anyway, it needs a more stronger, punchy kind of beat and maybe bass. I don't know. I think the interaction between the kick and the bass isn't quite working either, but like I said, I'm a bit torn here because I think I really like what's going on, but it's not quite working for me. I think it's to do with the kick and the drums and the percussion, and yeah, I don't know. Good luck, because it's really cool. There's something that just came in here, which I'm hearing quite low on the left side. Yeah, get rid of that. I don't know, it's really loud, really subby on the left hand side there. That's not ideal, and whatever it is, I don't think it's probably necessary. So my feedback was going to be that the track's just a bit kind of boring. There's not much going on. This like riff that you've got coming in here is fucking awesome. My feedback's still kind of the same. Like up until that came in, it was just a bit like plain. There's nothing really happening. It's a cool groove, but there's nothing to keep me interested. This is fucking sick, and I think you need to find a way to let it carry more of the song. That might, like, also up until this point, so you've got like a lot of quite busy elements. So you've got a really busy, fast bass line. I would simplify the hats and stuff a bit. Then you've got these, like a lot of kind of synths and textures and stuff happening. So I would simplify that and just give the bass a bit more room to be the main focus, if that's what you want to be the main focus. Then this, what kind of element is this? Organ or? Like that just adds so much kind of personality to the track. That is the track, in my opinion. This is a bit loud here, but still, again, really interesting, right? So from there, for the first half of the track, it's not super interesting. Now you've got heaps of interesting stuff happening. So what I would recommend is finding a way to kind of introduce these synths. So in a way that you don't give away everything, maybe just playing like the first little bit of the riff or something. But they just kind of stand out on against the beat. So, and then, yeah, so you just kind of like working them into the track a bit better, I think. What's going on here? Working them into the track a bit better. Sorry about that. And just, yeah, I don't know, make them the main focus, because they're the main part of the track. Try to get everything else, like, just, it feels a bit too crowded, a bit too, with all the kind of texture, all the synths and the bass and the hats playing really fast. I just feel like it feels a bit messy. But I think you're onto something there. You just need to keep working at it.
what are you gonna do tonight? Something to make a house ready.
This is really cool, man. You've got a great vibe going on. I really like these kind of chords. Everything that you've got coming in here. The vocal works really well. There's nice space for it. The bass is like really, like just perfect sound for the track. But it takes 2 minutes to get anything going on. So I think I would try to figure out a way to just make it a bit more interesting in here. This little riff that you've got coming in here is really, really nice.
Something to make a house ready. Into this and what are you gonna do tonight? Something to make a house ready.
Yeah, man, super, super cool track. I think trying to make it a bit more interesting at the start, just get to the point a bit sooner. I think you could, you could cut it down to be 6 minutes, just get into it a bit quicker. And then in the break here, you've got this quite extended period where nothing really happens. I think there's a fine line between creating tension and having things get a bit boring, and I think it gets a bit boring, but either just shorten it and get to
make a house. Something to make a house ready.
And just get to that a bit sooner, or try to find a way to make it a bit more interesting in here and just create a bit more like excitement. But other than that, man, like really, really sick. Everything's working really nicely together. Super cool bass. I think pretty much everyone in the chat can agree with that. Yeah, congrats. everything's super nice. Really liking the vibe on this. The one thing I would suggest is like that text, that kind of atmosphere. It sounds like a vocal with reverb and then it's looped. I just think it's a bit loud. You could automate it in a bit more gently because it doesn't need to be there right from the start. It's kind of, if you automate it in here, then it's going to do the same job of kind of creating that tension and then release when it's gone here when you drop in the bass. Super cool sound design on that. Like this, yeah, really nice, really nice. I think that's something that people overlook a bit, is that a hook or something that memorable about a track can be as simple as that, but that it just fits so well. Really good. Great breakdown. It's got a lot of dynamics in there. You created a lot of tension and release. It's kind of subtle, but everything stayed interesting. You're just waiting for that next thing to happen. Yeah, I mean this is fantastic, Houston. That bit that I was saying at the start, I still think that could be slightly improved, but really, I mean, it doesn't detract from the fact that this is an awesome track. So get that shit signed, man. Yeah, it's sick. Okay, 9 Bloom. I don't know how to say that. Is that? Let us know in the chat. Is that how you say your name? How do you say your name? Hang on, Andy, I'm just going to come back to you here quickly. Sorry, 9 Bloom, to cut off your track. I was kind of thinking the same thing, that another element could work, but sometimes keeping it subtle is enough. Like, I don't think you absolutely need something else there. Something else could be cool, but also it needs to be right, or it could start to detract from the track, because it's like a nice, subtle, well done, kind of classy track. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's absolutely necessary that you need something else, but if it was the right thing, it could elevate it. So I don't know. Good luck. Anyway, let's go back to this one. This is, I don't really have a point of reference for this. Like, if I was searching for this on Beatport, for example, I wouldn't know where to look, but it's cool. The sound design is sick. It reminds me of like kind of Psytrance-y sound design. I hope that's not a, but I mean, Psytrance is generally a lot faster and has the offbeat bass line, but I don't know. Sound design and mix down is really awesome. I really like the chord progression on that melody that came in before the break. Nice, that's sick, that delay feedback kind of getting... Again, as I said, I don't really have a point of reference for this. It's really, really well made. The sound design kind of reminds me of like dubstep and Psytrance and stuff like that. Like quite different to most 4/4 house and techno. Really well done. Some really awesome, sound design and production techniques in there, and very unique. So yeah, good stuff. Ian C. Mate, I'm not sure if it's intentional, but it feels like you kept low cut on your kick. Like it's... Yeah, I think your kick is way too high. Like, let me just do something here. Whoop, straight, and then pitch this down like, I don't know, 7 semitones or something. It sounds like shit, but the kick sounds more like in the realm of sub where I would want it to be. I think you've got like a lot of percussion, a lot of like quite thick shakers going on there, and you don't have the kick to back it up. You need like a strong subby 909 kick that's a way louder in the mix. This one's way too quiet, but let's keep going. Yeah, then when the bass line comes in, the kick disappears even more. So you want, for this style of music, you want your kick to be the loudest thing in the track, and then your bass line kind of playing in between those kicks. Why don't I go like this? And samples 909 and machine. Okay, have I still got that? So you've got like the start of a nice groove going there. What I was going to try and do is put another kick over it to demonstrate it, but it just, there's no space for it. The bass is way too loud, and the hats and stuff are way too loud. You just need to put a proper kick in there. But looking beyond all of that, it sounds like you've got the start of like a nice kind of vibe going. Then these kind of chords and stuff, you want to get a bit more movement, some automation on them going, and then a bit more some different elements coming in and out of your drums, I think. And then the arrangement doesn't make a huge amount of sense, or it's not. I think I kind of get the idea of the kind of music that you're wanting this to be. So what I would recommend is, regarding the arrangement, just take a track that you like that's in a similar style of what you're trying to make, and just copy the arrangement. Don't worry about whether it's cheating or original or not. Just do that enough times until you get an understanding of how a basic, like, clubby house arrangement should be. Once you do it enough times, it'll just kind of start to make sense. But definitely reference other tracks that you like. So when I'm arranging a track, I will go from working in this view to working in the arrangement view, and I basically just paint out an arrangement to be whatever, somewhere between kind of 5 and 7 minutes, and I'm leaving a minute at the start and a minute at the end for intro and outro, and then putting the main body of the track into this area. So I think just get used to how to make an arrangement, and then worry about how to be creative in doing that. Learn the rules and then break them, I guess, is the... I think in this too, the kick could be a bit louder. You've got some really nice, cool, soulful house vibes going on here, but I think you just, I think with house music, techno music, especially if you're trying to do it in a very traditional kind of style, the kick is the main element of the track. Not the main element, but the loudest element of the track. Mix everything else around the kick. So when I'm going to mix a track, I set the kick as kind of the reference point of how loud things are going to be in the mix, and I mix everything to that level of the kick. with the balance in the low end of this, so you've got a very short kick. So you could have, I'm not sure if that's how the kick is or if you've kind of made it purposefully short. But you could have a kick that's a bit longer, so it provides a bit more sub, or you could try putting a like much quieter sub of the bass line underneath, or play the bass an octave down. Try experimenting with some of those things, and you might kind of feel that the low end fills out a bit better. Really nice vibe. The balance between some of these elements that come in here, like this piano is really quiet in the background, and this vocal seems a bit too loud, a bit in front. Yeah. Thanks, Philip. I'm shit at hearing that, so appreciate that. So good advice there from Philip, that the vocal isn't in key. So this has got some really nice kind of vibes going on. I think, yeah, you've got a lot of great elements here. Just a few issues in terms of like the foundation of the track, like the low end particularly. It's got a really nice vibe. I just think sorting out that kind of kick and bass relationship, making sure that you've got a full kind of sub presence. And then obviously, as Philip Esser has mentioned, get the vocals in key and in time, and then everything should kind of come together. I think like getting that solid foundation for your track, kick, bass, clap, main kind of hi-hats, and then they're just having that kind of platform nailed, and then it gives you a really solid position to build the rest of the track on top. All right. What? Karen Puff, I lost all my packs. 6. All right. Interesting. Let's go. Really cool vibe, man. This is sick. The mix down is a bit unbalanced, but that can be, I guess, with this style. It's not always balanced like a club track would normally be. I think that organ kind of sound that you've got going on, really cool chords and stuff, but I think it's maybe a bit too loud. I really like the sequence, this kind of synth sequence. The kick's a bit like just a bit dull, but I don't know. I like, it's not really a style that I'm super familiar with or that I try and make, so I kind of not too sure about how you want the mix to be, how you, or like, yeah. So, and it kind of feels like more of a home listening kind of track. So I know that if I listen to my own tracks on my TV or something like that, they generally sound a bit shit and a bit like too bassy. So, so the mix downs that I'm kind of referencing are what sounds good in the club, basically. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's space for something else in there, like maybe a vocal sample, something cool like that. And I'm not sure if this is like, would be like an album track or if this is just a sketch. But very cool. Maybe check out the label Sleazy Beats Black Ops for reference tracks. Super cool vibes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. I think it's well done, and I feel like for me the mix could be improved a bit, but I just actually, yeah, that organ thing just takes up a lot of space, so I would balance that a bit better, but otherwise really dope. Dickie Claire. Bit of a different vibe for you, Dickie. Cool, but I think I like the kind of chords, the instrumentation that you've got going on. But I think it doesn't quite sound right because you've got the atmosphere and kind of vibe from that you do pretty consistently in your other tracks. Like the instrumentation and stuff that you've got is going is quite upbeat, but then the vocal and stuff is a bit more deep and kind of moody. I think if you found maybe a vocal sample source that was a bit more kind of housey, upbeat, could be cool. Yeah, I agree with what Philip's saying, that maybe take out the tambourine in the breaks or something like that, because it feels very linear. And while it's not bad what you've got going on here, it's also not kind of creating much excitement. I guess you're going to come into a snare build up here. Actually, I mean, a bit of a different snare build-up was cool. But I think you could try doing something a bit more in the break there, because it feels like the break, you've just kind of created this space for where you're going to have a break, and then you've got the vocals happening, and then the snare roll at the end. It's kind of functional enough, but it's not really taking anything to the next level. So I mean, I think I like the vibe. I like where you're going with it. I just think pushing the production a bit further, creating a bit more dynamics within the drums, and I guess the thing that I'm hearing about the vocals is what Philip's saying, that they're not in key, because they just feel a bit mismatched to me. I am not great at hearing when things are in and out of key. I just kind of hear, I don't really like that. So yeah, maybe try seeing if you can get the vocal to sit in key. Maybe that'll bring everything together. But yeah, really cool. And I mean, I think also really good to see you pushing yourself to do things that are a little bit different to what you've done before. And I really like the vibe, so I would like to see where that goes. Maybe you can kind of bring it together a bit more and yeah, develop it. All right, XS mastering V3 Sutra. Great name.
disconnected.
Might be because of how much limiting you've got put on here, but that vocal sounds really loud in that little break. I really like that snare sound. It sounds like a DMX or a Lindrum or something, but I think it could use some reverb on it, maybe with like a bit of pre-delay, just give it some space to sit in. Yeah, and it's very limited, so it's hard to hear some of the dynamics.
Let's get disconnected.
Yeah, I always find it quite difficult to give kind of feedback on the mix or sound design and stuff when things are this limited, because everything with less limiting, it may sound more balanced, and it always gives everything a very, very saturated and compressed sound overall. But if I think there's space for some kind of texture in the background or something. It feels a bit it feels like it's not really living in a space or something, like
Let's get disconnected. Disconnected.
so like with this vocal, when you have these like vocal chops coming here,
Disconnected.
so it sounds a bit weird how it's kind of, this is happening but there's no reverb on it. So like if you were to send that to a reverb, I think it would like this basically.
Disconnected. Disconnected.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I turned the warp off the tracks, but obviously this one, and same with Dickie's one, You guys got in late, so yeah, I'm kind of distracted with other things when I'm putting them in. Yeah, I think what I'm hearing that sounds a bit disconnected is that like some of the elements are really dry. Some of them have got a lot of reverb and space on them, which I assume is actually coming from the synth. So just having, kind of setting up some kind of reverb on your drums and reverb on your synths that make them all feel a bit more like they're existing in the same space, because some things have like got these really long reverb tails on them, some are really dry, and then it just feels a bit weird. Compression will nice to this track. Not sure what that means. It's got plenty of compression. Look at this waveform. It's like a bunch of bricks stacked next to each other. I just turned it down so that it's not way louder on the stream. Yeah, cool stuff, man. Good one. Okay, we had one more come in, and Closier in triple digits. So, dude, we're out of time, so we're just going to skip through this really quickly, and I'll do my best to give you some feedback on it. I think the vocal's a bit too loud, eh? It just seems a bit over the top. It feels like a few things have got too much reverb on them here. Everything's getting a bit washy. These new stabs that you brought in just sound a bit, like they've got a bit too much reverb on them. That pad feels like it's sitting in the wrong kind of part of the frequency spectrum. It doesn't feel like it's in a space where there's, I don't know, where it's quite sitting quite right. I would try it up an octave or down an octave, or just try EQing it differently so it just balances out a bit. I don't think it's too loopy, really. There's stuff happening.
Don't you give up on your dream.
I mean, taking out some of the drums and these breaks would help with that, I guess.
Every champion has felt it. Every president has felt it. Every king has felt it. Every lion, warrior's person has felt it. The urge.
Yeah, the vocal's way too loud, dude. It kind of makes me recoil a bit. It's getting, you can see here in your waveform, essentially, like the vocal is triggering the master, triggering the limiter, and everything's getting compressed, and the kick's not even playing. So yeah, to make it sound less loopy, take out some of the hats in the break. Or just in general, have some sections, because the
has felt it. Every soldier.
the hats are the same. They're there constantly in every part of the track. So there you go. There's your way to make it less loopy, is create some dynamics in the hats. Cool. All right. So thanks everyone for sending in their tracks. Some really awesome stuff this month. I'm going to probably do another one in a few weeks, as I'm going on a quite substantial tour in Australia and New Zealand, and yeah, there'll be some weeks where I won't be able to film videos or anything like that, so I'm going to be doing some live streams and things, but I'll keep everyone posted on when they will be. Yeah, so keep up the good work, guys, and we'll look forward to hearing them next time. Now, how do I turn this off? All right, Happy New Year again, and we'll talk soon. Peace.